Professor Mary Lynch, and I'm truly honored and humbled to bear the title Kate Stoneman Chair in Law and Democracy. When denied admission to the bar based on her sex, Kate Stoneman organized, strategized, and successfully lobbied to establish a law prohibiting barriers to admission to legal practice based on either race or sex. We have quoted that law in your program today, so take it home with you. There is a difference, however, between de jure and de facto equality. In 1997, when renowned civil rights activist Constance Baker Motley, the first African-American woman appointed to the federal bench, stood at this very podium as our honored Kate Stoneman Day keynoter, she prophetically warned, all one has to do is take a course in women's history to discover that the struggle for women's equality is centuries old, and to realize that the price of women's equality is eternal vigilance. Thank you for being vigilant, for being here, and for fighting a tide of backlash against equality and equity on so many fronts. A new generation of law students has helped to make this Stoneman Day possible and exciting. The video that will be available to you, and we just showed you a little snippet of it, was put together by the Women's Law Caucus and interviewed numbers of students and faculty and others and alums to ask, what would Kate Stoneman do? And some of those participants are in this room. To my right, you will see the amazing student submissions we got for the Scholarship Award. There are QR codes where you can watch the videos afterwards if you'd like. I urge you, if you haven't on your way in, on your way out, to take a look at just the amazingly brilliant and creative submissions. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that today from Professor Christine Chung. But first, I want to give a shout out to our Kate Stoneman scholar, Elizabeth Getz. She is with us virtually from DC, as she is currently interning through Albany Law's semester in practice with the DOJ's Office of Violence Against Women. While in law school, Liz engaged in many, many educational and community activities relevant to today's celebration. She interned with the DOJ's Civil Rights Division Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit last summer, with the Sex Offender Management Bureau in the New York State Attorney General's Office, and with the Justice Center's Domestic Violence Prosecution Hybrid Clinic. In response to requests for pro bono legal help from two local colleges that approached our career planning office, she piloted, organized, and streamlined a law student Title IX pro bono program with local colleges. Please join me in thanking Liz for exceptional work these past few years as the Kate Stoneman Scholar. We graduate with May, and we can't wait to see what she's going to do next. Kate would be so proud of so many of our students and of their dreams, persistence, and inclusive intersectional approaches. Our students, non-binary, female, male, are the future Kates. You are our next generation of leaders. Professor Chung will tell you a little bit more about them, and you will see them when you review their submissions. But for now, I ask 5 students to stand who worked collectively together like a band of brave suffragettes, but in less restrictive clothing. The co-chairs of the Women's Law Caucus, Anna Brediger and Brianna Wagner. Tina Flanagan, Secretary. body with its leadership, visionary goals, and collaborative sisterhood. And you have crowned it with this week's daily celebration of gender equity with Gender in the Law. You've already thanked me for these students, and I thank you again. All right, we're grateful for many others who made today's event possible, and I'm going to ask you to do something really hard at this event. Can you wait till the end to clap when I mention everybody? I know we're very like a celebratory group, but I think it'll go more quickly if we do this. Okay. For the wise input of faculty committee members, Professor Christine Chung and Jaya Connors, for the incredible organizational, logistical, technological, creative, and marketing assistance of staff in the institutional advancement, IT, and communications departments, for Stoneman Uber fan, Jeff Sieber, who should be heartily congratulated for his attentive facilitation of all the moving parts while ably assisted by Megan Goff, and for the new energy and assistance provided by our diversity, equity, and inclusion team led by Dean Germaine Cruz. We thank them all and the new folks for joining Stoneman Nation. And so please join me in giving them a round of applause. We would not be here, though, were it not for the many devoted alumni members of the Kate Stoneman Honorary Committee and their donors as well. They're incredible contributors to the law school. And the others are the Kate Stoneman Awards subcommittees, honorary committees. Many of them contribute talent, time, and treasure to this event and others. Would the student, faculty, staff, and alumni members of the honorary committee and subcommittees stand and be recognized? Many previous Stoneman honorees are here with us tonight. I now ask them to stand and be recognized or to wave on Zoom. Thank you so much for continuing your work as trailblazers for change. To the many members of the judiciary who are here with us and who took time away from cases, chambers, probably have to work late tonight when you go back, to be with us on this special occasion, know that we are so grateful every time you come to Albany Law School to be with us. Finally, there is one more exceptional person I need to mention who is also a rightful heir to Kate. This leader persisted with courage, compassion, and creativity to steer this school through the worst days of the pandemic and to the better shores in which we are anchored today. She has been a Stoneman supporter and enthusiast from her earliest days here. It is with professional gratitude and personal affection that I introduce Albany Law School's 18th president and dean, Alicia Ouellette.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Thank you, Professor Lynch. I'm so honored to welcome all of you to the 29th Kate Stoneman Day at Albany Law School. This is one of the most important days of the year at Albany Law. It's a day that I look forward to every year, as the students who are in the audience know, because I told them all that this is the best day and they should come. It's a day that we honor the legacy of Kate Stoneman and recognize the impact of women in the law. We have amazing and accomplished award recipients this year, and I take particular pride in the fact that they are all graduates of Albany Law School. So today we celebrate 3 women who passed through these halls, got cold called in these classrooms, showed incredible persistence, and used what they learned to advance the legal profession and make a positive impact in their communities. Judge Patricia Marks, class of 1974, has had an illustrious career as an assistant district attorney and judge, and she continues to share her energy and passion in retirement. Secretary Alejandro Polino, class of 2002, is breaking new ground as the first Latina secretary of the New York State Senate. And our keynote speaker and the recipient of the MIRIAM M. Netter 72 Kate Stoneman Award, about whom you'll hear much more later, the absolutely amazing Judge Teneka Frost, also from the class of 2002. That was a good year. Like Kate Stoneman, all of these women are role models for young lawyers and law students. Each has followed her own path and found her own unique way to make a difference in the world. And they each started out right here, like so many of you. As I look back at my time as president and dean, I'm particularly proud of the ways in which our Stoneman legacy runs through our community. I'm proud of the strong women leaders we graduate. I'm proud of the strong women on our faculty. I'm proud of the strong women who lead this school. And I'm immensely proud of the strong women students and all the allies in our community. Every day, I see that you live Kate Stoneman's legacy, breaking barriers, refusing to take no for an answer a lot, and making a positive change in our world. Speaking of strong women, a shout out to the one and only Professor Mary Lynch, our Stoneman Chair in Law and Democracy. Thanks to you and to all the members of our Stoneman Committee for all your work and enthusiasm that you put not just into today's program, but to making sure that the Stoneman spirit is alive and well in everything that we do here. Also, kudos to all the students that Professor Lynch named and Liz as well, and to the students who participated in the Stoneman events throughout the week. Finally, a shout out to another group of students. We have 20 fellows in the Albany Law Women's Leadership Initiative. The Women's Leadership Initiative is an innovative program that's part of Kate Stoneman's legacy here at Albany Law School. It's really a sister program. Our Women's Leadership Initiative fellows are going through personalized leadership development programming. They're creating new events and programs for their peers. They're podcasting and they're connecting with leaders throughout the field as they prepare to break barriers and reach new heights. So when you think about it, think about all that we have at Albany Law School. It's Stoneman Chair, Stoneman events, Stoneman scholarships, Stoneman fellowships and prizes, and the Women's Leadership Initiative. Albany Law School is the place for women who aspire to Kate Stoneman's legacy. It's the place to become a change maker and make a difference. We see you, we teach you, we support you, and we celebrate you. Kate Stoneman is in our DNA. So enjoy yourselves tonight. Enjoy the extraordinary honorees. And thank you all for everyone who made this event possible. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. Today, I have the distinguished honor of presenting a Kate Stoneman Award to Alejandra Paulino, a trailblazer in her own right, our very own Albany Law alum who is following in Kate Stoneman's footsteps while paving the way for generations to come. Before we celebrate her current achievement, let me illustrate her accomplished career. She attended Brown University for a bachelor's in law and public policy. She then came to Albany Law School for her JD and concentrated in intellectual property. She graduated in 2002, and as a student, she served on the Moot Court Board and was an active member of LALSA and BALSA. After graduation, she joined the New York State Senate through the New York State Senate Fellowship Program and worked for Senator Seymour Lockman. From 2003 to 2005, she served as executive counsel for Senator Ada Smith. She then worked as an assistant public defender at the Albany County Public Defender's Office from 2006 to 2008. Her career led her to simultaneously work in private practice, academia, and then return to the Senate. From 2005 to 2019, she worked in private practice and served as special counsel to the law office of James E. Long. In 2009, she returned to the Senate and served on the Majority Counsel's office as counsel to crime victims, and the Corrections Committee, as team counsel for public protection, and as finance analyst for public protection. She also served as secretary to the minority leader from 2011 to 2018. Last but certainly not least, in 2016, she joined Albany Law School as an advisory board member for the Government Law Center, as an adjunct professor of New York State election law and anatomy of an election, and as an advisory member for the Women's Leadership Initiative. Now let me address her current achievement. In 2019, Secretary Paulino made history when she was appointed as Secretary of the New York State Senate and become the first Latina to ever serve in this role. To put in perspective how impactful this was, consider that the person who appointed her was the first woman to ever hold the majority leader position in either house of the New York State Legislature. Accordingly, for this accomplishment, she was awarded the Capital District Black and Hispanic Bar Association's 2019 Trailblazer Award. Now I'd like to speak about what it means to me and to the Latinx community to see trailblazers like Secretary Paulino rise to positions of power for the first time. When I came to law school, I learned that currently Latinas in the legal profession suffer the lowest representation of any racial or ethnic group as compared to their overall presence in the national population. Despite representing 1 in 4 women in the United States, Latinas comprise less than 1% of lawyers. Latina women typically earn 57% less than white men and 28% less than white women. We desperately need Latina representation in every legal field. And to see one Latina become the first secretary of the New York State Senate brings me hope and pride. Her story teaches us not to be discouraged by the lack of representation in higher positions of power. Instead, it inspires us to be the change we want to see. Please help me in welcoming Secretary Alejandra Paulino to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. You know, we start the show with the New York State Senate. So. I want to first thank the committee and Albany Law School. As an alum, I cannot tell you how humbling this is for me. And for my family who's here and my friends and everyone around here. To be someone who really, this is gonna be this way. It's been a long journey here. It really has been, especially someone who wasn't born here. You know, who's most of her family doesn't live here. And for many of you out there who probably like me, grew up with family in another country that really, when it was times like this, that you needed people or would want to celebrate with, they couldn't because they were a plane ride away, right? So for me, this is such a treat, not just because of what this is and what it represents, because I have built and I have this community here in Albany. Right. And one of the things I just wanted to share with you is how Albany Law School gave me really all of you to me, to someone where, as my mother and my family know, we left the Dominican Republic. We lived in Yonkers. We moved to Orange County, and then I went to Providence. This is the longest place I've lived, people. And a lot has been invested in me. And for that, I say that is why I want to invest in all of you. And there are many people that are responsible for me, starting with my parents, starting with my brother, my biggest cheerleader, little brothers, you know, that's what they do, to the New York State Senate, really. They've always believed in me when I didn't know even who I was. And that's so powerful for someone who really, when they walked out of the Capitol, didn't see anybody else that looked like them. So the New York State Senate for me had always been the place that I went to. It is still home for me because there were people from all over. And that filled me so that I can then go out and do the things for other people. And I would not be here today if it wasn't for the title that I held for many, many years, which is Alejandra Paulino of Counsel to Law Office of James E. Long. So when we speak about all of the things and all the barriers that we all have done, I would not have been able to be equipped with my tools if he had not given them to me. So I share this with him because we need people to help us along the way. And he helped so many of you in this room. Always that person to say, you'll be fine. And also that person to say, atta girl. And sometimes you just need that. So as you continue and you become trailblazers in your own right, I will say, get that person to be that person to say, atta girl, I see you. Because if I will tell you, I am very privileged. I am very privileged in the people that I have met here through Albany Law School, in City of Albany, County of Albany, City of New York. And I would not be here as Secretary of the Senate if I didn't have one person, actually two, because Senator Martin Malavey Dilan, who is not here, but I told him I would speak of him, was the one that continued to lobby for me as a Latino staffer to be the Secretary of the Senate. And that dream was a dream he had for all the years that we dreamt to be in the majority. And now we are a super majority. So, and for him, this was also his dream. The dream of every caucus member of the Black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican caucus of Senate Assembly is to have folks like me be able to go further than they did. And the fact that for all of this time, the entire history of the state Senate, I am the first Latina woman to run the House, tells you something. The last time a woman ran the House, it was for 6 months. I'm entering year 5. I will say that the other person is K. Stoneman honoree, Majority Leader, Temporary President Andrea Stewart Cousins. And I remember when she received her Stoneman Award in 2016, I was sitting there because I was staffing her and I was so thrilled. I said, Senator, we're going to my law school. You know, and it was a joy for me to staff her and bring her here and to tell her about this honor. And, you know, this award stands right in the middle of her office in the Capitol, by the way, and has always stood there. So I know we are in budget season, folks. But I wanted to just also honor her because for her nomination, I wouldn't have been elected on the floor. But I leave you with something that she said to me the first day of session, and my staff, my team, my family, who's always trusted me. And I will say, to do all the things. She said, "You are enough." Those are powerful words. And I don't think we hear them enough. But I think to all of you, to all the students here, you are enough. You're just going to get better. Right? And I just think this is just your beginning, just like mine was. So I want to thank you so much from my support from the grievance committee. Veronica Duffy, thank you for being here. And for everyone, my friend of more than 20 years, Audrey Johnson, also class of 2002, who's here. Thank you for coming. I really want to go to our families who really, put up with us. Our co-parents who deal with the children, as we do what we need to do, to manage our lives and lead. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Heidi Gregory and a proud alum of this fine law school. I'm also a member of the Greater Rochester Association for Women Attorneys, affectionately referred to as GRAWA. I had the honor of drafting GRAWA's nomination of the Honorable Patricia D. Marks, and now have the great pleasure of bestowing the Kate Stoneman Award on my friend and fellow GRAWA sister. Judge Marks broke glass ceilings and did so multiple times throughout her career. Within our GRAWA circles, we often say that Judge Marks lifted others as she climbed by placing a ladder to the floor so that others could walk up behind her. She was the first female full-time assistant district attorney in the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, and then years later became the first female county judge elected in Monroe County. And while she was the assistant district attorney, she created a new bureau to expedite the processing of fraud claims. And as a judge, she conceived, planned, and executed various programs, including mental health court and veterans court, both of which remain viable and often replicated programs throughout the state. Never one to shy away from her efforts being reevaluated or examined, she regularly solicited input from stakeholders, community partners, fellow attorneys, and judges on the ways the court processes could be improved. Her service to the bench and the bar in Monroe County in New York State, coupled with her commitment to the community, make her an ideal and worthy recipient of Kate Stoneman recognition. Her leadership and volunteer service through the years at numerous not-for-profits and various agencies, too numerous for me to list for you right now, but just a few: Just Cause, the Susan B. Anthony Center, the Family Law Clinic, Veterans Outreach Center, and various bar association committees, combined with her immeasurable contributions to the legal profession, especially to and on behalf of women in the profession, are absolute reasons for celebration today. She is a role model and mentor to the legal community, and despite her retirement from the bench over a decade ago, she continues to mentor and lead by example for women in the profession. Her abilities to read the room and to handle the most challenging of conversations with grace and diplomacy are her leadership hallmarks. And whether she wants to take credit for me or not, she has been and continues to be someone I have looked up to for years. She is a woman of courage, one who has and continues to lead with the generosity of heart to partner and the self-reflection to constantly raise her hand to get the job done. And she always looks in the rearview mirror to be sure her efforts are impactful. She encourages those coming up behind her, especially her female colleagues in the profession, to not shy away from embarking on new challenges, knowing bridges are being built as we go. Please help me in welcoming the Honorable Patricia Marks, class of 1974. But it is my honor on behalf of the Albany Law School to bestow to you this Kate Stoneman Award.
I'm truly humbled to be here and receive this award, and particularly humbled to have it presented by Heidi, who I followed her career and was so excited to see women succeeding in the legal profession. I am a 1974 graduate of Albany Law School, and a lot of people in the audience weren't even born then. But I do want to express my gratitude to many people, including Heidi and all the members of the Greater Rochester Association of Women Attorneys. They reminded me of the importance of bringing the ladder down, contacting people, encouraging all lawyers, all new lawyers, young lawyers, and especially women and minorities to be engaged in the practice, because it's an amazing career I've had. And I need to acknowledge my older brother, Warren Davis, because Warren is the one who said, I'm going to law school. And I said, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Can I go? I loved my older brother, and anything he did had to be terrific. Now, he took a different path in business, which may have been smarter in some ways, but I didn't love law school. I have to admit that part, but I'm upset that I wasn't in the Senate, working in the Senate part-time when my co-recipient was there. Where are you? There you are. It would have been a blast to be in the Senate with you. It was a very tame Senate when I worked there for a conservative senator, Jay Rollison, although it's a terrific experience, and that's part of the benefit of Albany Law School. I'm grateful to all of my family, all the members of GRAWA, my colleagues in GRAWA, and this whole concept of Catherine Stoneham. I don't, how could she do that? I mean, I've had experiences first, and I've had some unusual barriers and some stories to tell about being the first woman, but she did it all alone. She couldn't even vote. She couldn't have run for, could she have run for judge? She couldn't vote for herself if she ran for judge. I'm thinking all these things as I read about her. What a remarkable thing, and what a remarkable thing the law school is doing to remember her and honor her and work with that. So the first piece of my short speech is gratitude. So I want to express gratitude to the committee and the law school and all that they've done. And then talking a little bit about gender equality and relaying some of my unique experiences. Graduation day from law school, one of my classmates came up to me and said, you have a lot of nerve taking the place of a breadwinner. And I just looked at him. I didn't understand that. Thank goodness I was the person who did not understand it. I had and did what I did. And then there was the time I was an assistant DA and I was 6 months pregnant, and I tended to have very visible pregnancies. And an attorney made a motion in court to prevent me from prosecuting a rape case. The judge rapidly dismissed that motion, and his associate attorney, who was a female, hit him. So, you know, there was that experience. And then, of course, as a judge, it was the experience of, I had to fashion a campaign that said it's okay for a woman to judge criminals, and tried to find different ways to do that. And so I'm elected president of the County Judges Association and go with my husband to the event, the annual conference, and they immediately thought he was the judge who was elected. So I had a variety of interesting experiences, and I'm glad to say I brought other people along for company, so I didn't feel so different and unique. And as I've gone through Albany Law School today and seen the changes, the number of women here and the women who are just so talented and interested, and the efforts to deal with the issues that are still issues dealing with women, still issues dealing with domestic violence, issues that some things haven't changed. But I think this class of Albany Law School here, whom I've met today, is going to change some of that. So I will close so we can continue the program and close with the third G, gift. So gratitude, gender, gift. Education at Albany Law School is an incredible gift, and it gives us an opportunity to help others and reach out. And so I'm also back to gratitude and grateful for that gift. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. See that, I like that. Thank you. So for those who don't know, my name is Glenisa Gaylord, and I am a 2007 graduate of Albany Law School. I have the esteemed pleasure of and honor of introducing our keynote this afternoon / evening, Judge Teneka Frost. Everyone knows her as Judge Frost. I know her as my friend Teneka, and we've known each other for a very long time. And she has been a mentor to me. And in preparing this speech, I really wanted to showcase how Teneka, in both her personal and professional life, has embodied Kate Stoneman. And there's just three things that I'm trying to be quick because I know that we've listened to speeches, so on and so forth. And I don't want to be that one where people are like, okay. But I have to say these things about Teneka because she has been such an inspiration to myself and to a lot of people in and without this room. And to not embody that and talk about that this evening, I would be missing an opportunity to honor someone who's been very impactful in my life. So getting to it, I wanted to go to three things in writing this and thinking about Teneka that where she embodied the spirit of Kate Stoneman. I've been a member of this group since I graduated in 2007, and I've seen many of honorees help guide and make decisions on many of the honorees, and all of them embody Kate Stoneman, but Teneka is just special and dear to my heart. One of the things I want to say about her is her bravery and courage. Teneka is the oldest of 5 children, the first to go to college, the first to graduate law school. And then on top of that, she's dedicated her career to public service, working with at Legal Aid. We worked together for a brief time. She worked here for the law school at the Government Law Center as a fellow. She also went on to work for the state of New York, first as director of their diversity program at the Department of State, then going on to being an administrative law judge. And then the bravery happened when she decided she wanted to run for city court judge in the city of Schenectady. And then won. And I'm saying that because not only did she win, she then became, to the second part of my speech, is a trailblazer. Not only trailblazing the possibilities for her family, but trailblazing the possibilities for every woman of color, every attorney of color going through and trying to be a judge. And here's why. When she became a judge, she became the first woman of color, judge of color in the Fourth Judicial District. In 2000, when was that? About 5 years ago? 2018. So yeah, my math is right. So in 2018, think about that. In 2018, the Fourth Judicial District had their first woman of color judge. The impact that had and currently has on every other woman of color trying to forge that same path, go that same route. She's now the example. And then the last part I wanted to go to was first, because it's very important. I listed a lot of firsts here, as Kate Stoneman was the first woman to take the time, the effort, the bravery, and become a trailblazer to ensure that every attorney of color in this room had the opportunity to do what we do every day. Teneka embodied that as well, with her programs for children, working on the school board, all of the community service that she's done, and being a native of Albany, such as myself, and giving back to Albany, not just the city, but her beloved school, is amazing. So I am very honored to just have a moment to tell you about my friend and to tell you about all of the great things that she has accomplished in this community and for this law school, in her community work, her volunteerism, and now bringing fairness to the bench. So please take a moment to stand and honor Teneka, my friend, this year. But I am bestowing upon you this MIRIAM M. Netter 1972 Kate Stoneman Award, presented to you, the Honorable Teneka E. Frost, class of 2002, on today's date, March 23rd, 2023, from Albany Law School.
Good evening and happy Women's History Month. To my sister, my true sister, Glenisa Gaillard, thank you. We're not just true sisters because we're in the same sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, but she served as my treasurer in 2 judicial races, which anyone who's a judge and have run a race knows how important that treasurer is. And I just thank you for your service and your belief in me and your support. And you've always been supportive of me. And you know, we mentor each other because we're both learning and growing together. So thank you so much. To Albany Law School, man, this place changed my life. I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. Dean Ouellette, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. And I want to particularly thank you for something that just recently happened. I want to thank you for leading the law school's strategic plan, which includes the goal of promoting anti-racism, where the law school will be actively. I know we don't have a short amount of time to be with you, but I do want to thank you. Thank you, Professor Lynch, for you just smile and happy all the time. For the last 20-something years that I've known you. So, and thank you for what you're doing, your passion for women and for this program. And thank you, Kate Stoneman Honorary Committee for, for giving me this award, but also for all you do to promote her wonderful, wonderful legacy. So, fellow awardees and past recipients, so many of you are my sheroes in this room. And I've had the opportunity and pleasure to hug you, to shake your hands, but also I've been blessed to form friendships with you, to be mentored by you, inspired by you, and the significant achievements you've made that have made our world a better place. Thank you. And to my husband, he's going to kill me from pointing him out, but to my husband, who, he's pretending that he doesn't see now. I knew I made one of the best decisions of my life by marrying him. And I knew this when I decided to run for judicial office last fall. And I told him about it. He was like, okay. And he was still okay when the day after our marriage, the day after our wedding, I had to actually get up early in the morning, go to a campaign event in Washington County. So we weren't even together for like 24 hours after we got married, but he was still like, okay. And then I watched him while I was on the campaign trail. And man, he made more friends than I did. And it was like we were campaigning together. And I was like, okay, he's the candidate too. And so isn't that the way it's supposed to be? And I want to just say I'm thankful to God that I really met a partner that I needed and I prayed for. To my mom who's watching on whatever this platform is, she's live stream, and I just want to say I learned so much from you, Mom, and thank you so much for all you've given me. And my dad, who died my last semester of law school, who was the champion of education in my life, who it hurt me to death that he couldn't see me actually graduate from law school. I am so grateful to him and pushing me to be the best that I can be. And I also want to say a shout out to the classes of 2001 and 2002. Go ahead. Because I'm an anomaly. Well, there was actually other people who had this too, but I came in with the class of 2001 and I did a joint degree where I graduated with the class of 2002. So I should have a little asterisk next to my class here, an explanation of, the fact that I'm in between these two classes. But I want to say that someone once said, don't make friends who you are comfortable with. Make friends who will force you to level yourself up. I'm thankful for these friends who inspire me and make me want to be a better person. I'm going to name a few of them. My best friend that I went to law school with, Tori Harris, she's now in California. We went to Syracuse together. We met on one of the first days of school back in Syracuse, and she decided to come to Albany Law School with me. And I was like, whoa, all right, I'm gonna start here with the instant support system. So I want to say thank you to her. And also to my elementary school classmate, Judge Derek Thomas, who is a city court judge in who's a city court judge in Syracuse, actually, where I spent some time, obviously. Literally bumped into Derek on the first day of law school. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I hadn't seen him in years. And so again, another instant support system that came here. That brings me to another judge, Justice Marsha Michael, Supreme Court in the Bronx. We met, she's also a graduate of the class of 2002. She was the treasurer when I was on I was regional director of the Northeast Black Law Students Association, and she's just a really dear friend. And let me tell you how wonderful it was when I came on a bench. They were already on the bench, and I was able to call them and have a really frank, honest conversation about, okay, I got this job now, what do I do next? And so to have that, those individuals there to help me along was just invaluable. And that brings me to another judge that is such a dear friend of mine. That's Judge Sherry Brooks Morton. Where is she? Did she leave? All right. So Sherry and I went to high school together. And so to see her ascend and do great things is just awesome and as well. And then there's my really brother from another mother, Brian Hendrickson. He's a superintendent of schools in Connecticut. And we met our first week of law school. And he's, like I said, been a brother to me ever since. And he's the one that got me through property. And I will tell you that I had no clue what's going on in property. And he sat with me and went over and over and over what the rule of perpetuities was and all that other good stuff. And we got our grades and I got a better grade. That's how gifted of a teacher he was. It took some time to get me to get that. And then to Ali Paulino, my co-honoree here. Oh, we have shared so many wonderful moments in law school. And one in particular, as I was saying, my father died my last semester of law school. There's a lot of things going on. I was running a regional conference of 7 states of law students. I was trying to graduate and finish my joint degree, and I had the statistics class that was kicking my butt. And I remember I got my midterm, I got a 49 on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to pass? Am I going to be able to graduate? And so I had all these things going on, and Allie was watching me. And she, one day we were in the moot court room over here, and she handed me a gift bag, and I was like, oh, what's this? Everybody likes gifts, right? And she gave me this book called Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much. And it was the sweetest thing. And I was like, she sees me, she loves me, she cares, and she doesn't want me to go too crazy trying to finish out all of this. And so I just thank you for that. And just, again, being a true sister. And then I have a group of women, Amy Kellogg, Tara Pleat, Mary Frances Card, Carrie Gathan, who were just a great support system as I was graduating. And Amy is sitting right over there. She's just a wonderful, wonderful friend. And I'm just very thankful. And then I'm going to shout out one person from the class of 2000. That is Tracy Brooks. I got the year right? Okay. Tracy and I met when she was going into her 3rd year, and I was ending my 1st year, and she was a fellow with the Government Law Center was it the Elder Law? I think it was Elder Law. It was Stoneman Fellowship. Okay. And we had this spirited debate that both of us will never forget, that will change our lives. And that is, she asked me the question, what do you see yourself first, as a Black person or a woman? And if you know Tracy, your answer should have been woman. But for me, it was a Black person. And she was like, what? You don't see yourself as a woman first? And we had this long spirited debate about why it is that I saw myself as a Black person first. And that conversation still sticks with me. And she eventually understood why after our conversation. So I also want to say, I got to move quickly because I feel like I'm being up here a long time, but there's a couple of impactful people I met that worked at the law school, and or I met through coming to the law school that I want to mention. One is Dean John Baker. He was a professor and the first Black dean of Albany Law School. He was a professor while I was here. And he was well aware that one of the barriers preventing Black students from graduating law school was the non-inclusive culture that sometimes we found ourselves in. So he invited all the Black students to his house on multiple occasions, and we ate, we played games, we listened to music, and of course debated. And so that was some of the most important thing of making sure that we had the support system to be successful. Professor Donna Young, who was the forever, when she was here, the forever BOSA advisor that we leaned on. I want to thank Dean Chamberlain, who was the admissions dean at the time, who recruited this incredible class of 28 students of color for the class of 2001. And it was at the time the biggest class of color that the law school had ever had at that particular time. I also want to thank Dean Thomas Sponsler and Dean Gail Brown Benson, Dean Connie Mayer. There's a story that I was going to share today, but I'm going to skip it. That this talked about how supportive the law school was of me. But I do want to point out that Dean Thomas Sponsler was so supportive of the Black Law Students Association and the National Black Law Students Association. And I will tell you at the time, the students, and so it made up of 7 states between Maine and New Jersey. And students at Yale and MIT and all other places were like, wow, you guys get support from Albany Law School, and that's wonderful. And they were envious of us and the support that we were given. I also want to thank a person that I met through the law school, Chief Judge Judith Kay, who today, 30 years ago, became the first female chief judge of the Court of Appeals in New York State. She was on the court for 25 years and she used her powerful platform to affect change. And one of the things that personally impacted me was, along with Judge Randy Treese and Jim Kelly, created the diversity internship program that gave me my private practice experience while I was in law school, and actually ended up being my first full-time job out of law school. So I'm so thankful for that. And Associate Justice of the New York State Court of Appeals, George Bundy Smith. He's no longer with us, but he was frequently coming in and out of the law school at the time. And I would see him on the street, like downtown, because I was working downtown. I would see him at Dunkin' Donuts and I was like, dude, does everybody know who that is? Do you understand civil rights activists on the Court of Appeals? I'm like, nobody knew, right? And so I would see him and say hello and be just in awe until one day he actually asked me to come to lunch with him. And I was like, all right, sure. And we meet down at Jack's. And as I was sitting with him, he shocked me. He said to me, you should think about being a judge. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I was like 5 years out of law school. She's like, you should think about being a judge. We need people like you. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know he saw me in that way or thought of me in that way, but I really, really, really was so thankful. And actually, when I was on my way to being a Schenectady City Court judge, I called him and had a conversation with him. And he made me go through every job that I had, all the things that I did in those jobs. And he told me, he's like, don't you ever let anybody tell you you're not qualified to do this job. So when I found out about receiving this prestigious award and being designated as the keynote speaker, my question was, Lord, what do you want me to say? I know we are not in church, temple, or mosque or synagogue, but I have to believe I'm not the only one here that converses with God. My faith is so important to me. People go around calling us who are judges, Your Honor. You know, we hear that so often that it becomes our new name, but I've trained myself to immediately think about this when I hear this phrase, Your Honor. The thought that pops in my head is, am I living a life that honors God? Because to me, I don't earn that title by putting on a robe and sitting on a bench. I earn it by the way I live, how I treat people, how I exemplify God's love. So I said, God, what do you want me to say? And in my spirit, I felt somebody needs to hear your story. Today, I not only get to tell my story, but tell it through the lens of Kate Stoneman. I admire leaders, people who are bold enough to say, I'm going to change the world, and then pave their own path to do it. Kate Stoneman did that. She was a visionary. She didn't waste an opportunity. She fulfilled her purpose to use her education to uplift her community. She was bold and unapologetic in her fight to overcome sexism and personal obstacles to achieve greatness. And she had quite the class of friends that supported her and helped her achieve her goals. Because of the efforts of Kate Stoneman, I arrived at Albany Law School in a supportive environment for women, but there were still challenges present for me and my classmates who were students of color. For me personally, it got out that I was a student on a diversity scholarship. Somehow I learned that a student who worked in the admissions office read my file and started telling our classmates that I was on a diversity scholarship and revealed some other personal information about me and my background. I remember someone saying to me, and it must have been a person I was cool with because I'm pretty sure the conversation wouldn't have been pleasant if it was a random person, but this person said to me in a very sarcastic way, I heard you were here on a diversity scholarship, as if to make me feel less than and that I had not earned my way to Albany Law. Although a little hurt that my personal business was going around all the 1Ls, I confidently replied, yes, I am. What that person or whoever snickered or laughed when they heard this fact about me didn't realize was that the diversity scholarship was an answer to a prayer because I could not afford to go to law school. I almost did not apply to any law school at all because I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. In fact, another barrier that prevents Black students in particular from attending law school is the cost. The diversity scholarship paid for 2/3 of my law school education. So if it wasn't for the diversity scholarship, I would not have been able to afford to attend Albany Law School. Attending Albany Law was a dream that I didn't know I had until later in life. I specifically wanted to go here because I am from Albany. In fact, when I was 16 years old, I had a summer job located directly across the street from the law school. I had to walk past the school every day, and I watched the students walk in and out of the building. I would say to myself, look at those smart people. Not realizing at the time that just 6 short years later, I would be one of those people whom I thought was so smart coming in and out of the building. It's amazing to me to think back to those times. And as I realize where I am now, all I can say is, wow, what a tremendous sense of gratitude that I have to everyone who has played a part in my life. I grew up in the South End and Arbor Hill sections of Albany. My mother had me at the age of 16. She never finished high school. My father received his GED, but he suffered from alcoholism and was unable to keep a steady job. I have 4 siblings, and we were on public assistance for most of our childhood. We received food stamps, Medicaid, lived in Section 8 housing, and I was surrounded by an extremely negative environment outside my front door. At a young age, I saw most of my extended family members drop out of school and take one of 2 paths. For the men in my family, the path was unemployment and going to jail. And for the women, being a teenage mother and on welfare. I was labeled an at-risk youth. That means I was at risk of dropping out of high school, given my background and the environment I grew up in. So with the help and support of my parents, teachers, guidance counselor, and mentors, I decided not to accept that label and instead decided I was going to college. 3 degrees later, I stand in front of you today as the first African-American to sit on the city court in Schenectady. And at the time, as Glenisa pointed out, I was the first African-American judge to sit in the Fourth Judicial District. But unlike how I arrived at Syracuse University, I arrived at Albany Law School with a strong sense of my identity as a Black woman. Before Syracuse, I was unfamiliar with my culture and my history as a Black American. To learn more, I added African American Studies as a major along with my political science degree. At Syracuse, I studied and learned about the major contributions of Black people and discovered we were able to achieve great things despite a system purposely designed for us to fail. I know exactly why a diversity scholarship was needed in the first place. At the time I entered law school in 1998, Black lawyers only made up 4% of the legal profession in the United States. Today, a 2020 ABA study indicates that Black lawyers make up just 5% of the legal profession. That's only a 1% gain over a 25-year period. The Black population in the United States is 13.4%, and therefore Black lawyers and judges are still underrepresented. Getting back to my story about my diversity scholarship, if someone felt that I didn't deserve to be here, certainly my ancestors who were enslaved, beaten, and killed for fighting for basic human rights had earned it. So I thought if I wasn't here for myself, I was determined to be here to repay those who came before me for the price they paid so I could step foot in this building as a 1L rather than the cook or the janitor. When I think back to Kate Stoneman, who had been practicing law for 12 years and was 55 years old when she walked into this building, her identity as a woman was fully established. And just like my identity as a Black woman had given me, it gave her the confidence she needed to forge ahead despite the naysayers. It happened that by the time I arrived here at Albany Law, it was too late to try to ridicule me for being here on a diversity scholarship, because by that time I was already determined to take full advantage of every opportunity that was given to me. I had long made up in my mind that when you bet on Teneka, you're going to get my best, proudly representing my culture, my family, and my community. Attending Albany Law School changed my life. It was my education here at Syracuse where I was able to work in areas I'm passionate about. Like Stoneman, I immediately put my education to work. 2 years after I graduated from Albany Law, I ran for a position on the Albany School Board, putting to use my law degree and my master's in public administration to help move the district forward in providing quality education for all students. I practiced law for 15 years prior to taking the bench. I served as an administrative law judge. I worked in a private law firm. I worked for legal aid. And I worked on a series of wonderful issues that I really know helps me and provided an excellent foundation for the job that I do today in Schenectady City Court. My strong sense of public service, record of community involvement, and leadership roles have prepared me to effectively serve and interact with all segments of our society. My strong commitment to the community comes from the fact that the community filled in the gaps I needed to be successful. Whatever my parents were not able to provide, I was able to benefit from so many programs that helped to develop and shape me. So to the students and the next generation of lawyers, I want to say, be yourself. There is something you bring to our profession that nobody else can. My faith tells me that there is a new generation of lawyers coming to the forefront right now who will revolutionize the practice of law like Kate Stoneman. You are going to change the game. Don't be afraid to be unique or think differently. I remember being very uncomfortable speaking around lawyers because I felt I didn't use the same language or I didn't view the world in the same way. But now I care less about what others think of me and more about the consequences of remaining silent. That leads me to this conclusion. If you don't like what I said or how I did something, I'm not here for you. I have a purpose. I'm not going to let you get in the way of my destiny. Recently, I came across a commentary by Pulitzer Prize-winning opinion writer Kathleen Parker, who has a twice-weekly column in the Washington Post. Back in January of this year, she penned an article titled, Want to be happy, don't be a lawyer. I found that funny too. Apparently, lawyers are the unhappiest people on the planet when it comes to their jobs. I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm happy, I'm a lawyer, something must be wrong with me. I had to check myself. This commentary goes on to define happiness as the absence of stress. Then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. She may have a point there. According to the survey she cited, lawyers experience a high level of stress and lack of meaningfulness in their work. I can certainly relate to that. I'm grateful for the experience that I've had, particularly one where I worked in a private law firm and I was practicing commercial litigation, which I did not feel connected to. And I knew that type of work would not sustain me. In her article, Parker indicates that farmers, lumberjacks, and foresters were the happiest. Professions where you mostly work alone. That's all good, and I respect those professions, but they don't know the power of being able to change the world around them through people using the written and spoken word. As stated by Mona Harrington, the legal profession is the epicenter of societal change. Kate Stoneman knew that when she tactfully chartered her way to becoming the first woman to be admitted to the bar, leading the way to change the law to eliminate the discriminatory barriers of gender and race, which is a direct result of me standing here before you today. But of course, if you don't want to go to law school to change the world and instead you just want to be a good lawyer and make a decent living, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. We still need you. However, I, nor Kate Stoneman, came to Albany Law to leave our communities the way we found them. And I have a good feeling that you won't either. Thank you.
So it is my honor to take these last few moments of today's amazing event to recognize our students, which is just this connection between the past and the present and what we know will be the future. It's the best part of this day. And so I just want to thank everyone again for all their work in pulling this together. And to our honorees, I'm just awed by you. And so thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with our beloved students. So the Kate Stoneman Day Student Award Initiative started in 2019 as part of the 25th anniversary celebration and is now one of our treasured parts of Stoneman Day and our larger Stoneman programming. The award encourages our students to use their imagination and their creativity to ask, what would Kate Stoneman do today? How has her legacy expanded opportunities for women in the practice of law? What would she be fighting for if she were around today? Either individuals, groups, or student organizations may submit for this award. And this year, as in the past, we got just some amazing awards. You know, over the years, we've seen a wide range of wonderfully creative submissions. We had a sort of a dress display that was super cool a couple of years ago, a children's book, essays, mixed media presentations, movies, poems, and more. And this year's submissions, which are here on the table to my right, are in that same vein. There were 8 submissions total, including a poem, 2 videos, a poster, statements, essays, and what we'll see is an entire curriculum. So it's just incredible. Our students are amazing, right? They're just so inspiring. So the selection committee was blown away by the submissions and it made our choices very difficult. We can't thank our students enough for all the time that you spent in your work for this event today. Before we announce the awards and the winners of today's awards, I do want to recognize the benefactors who helped us make a cash component. So we're very grateful for you. A special thank you as one of our benefactors to Elizabeth Betsy Katz, the daughter of the late Professor Emerita Catherine D. Katz, class of 70. Kathy Katz was the first permanent Kate Stoneman Chair in Law and Democracy. Betsy is a member of our Kate Stoneman Honorary Committee, and she's just a great friend and supporter of the law school. And we're incredibly grateful for Betsy. Is Betsy here? Yeah. So thank you. I'm Professor Lori Shanks, Clinical Professor of Law Emerita and member of the Kate Stoneman Honorary Committee as well. And finally, Amy Kellogg. I'm not going to have time to get all of your honors in this and in your recognition. But Amy's from class of 22, as we've heard, an amazing class. She's a past president of the National Alumni Association, secretary to the Government Law Center Advisory Board, a former member of the Board of Trustees, and a beloved member of our honorary committee for the Kate Stoneman Day. So thank you, all of you, for your contributions to the student component of today's events. Because without your support, we wouldn't be able to recognize our students in this way. So, and as Professor Lynch mentioned, and as I just did, they're all here, and please, after today's events, take a look because they're awesome. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to present. We have several winners as well as a special prize, and I'd like to discuss the special prize first. One of our submissions this year was by the Women's Law Caucus. You guys, we love you. Have you all seen an inspiring video that features many members of our law school community, including faculty, administration, and students, reflecting on, I am Kate Stoneman. Really, what does Kate mean? How do we embody her legacy today? The committee was so inspired by the WLC's work that we are making a monetary donation of $500 to be given to the organization to use to inspire even more lawyers in the future. So thank you so much. So now let's move on to our three prize winners. Our third place winner is a lovely video entitled "Today We Celebrate Freedom." It reflects upon Kate's trailblazing work and imagines what Kate would be working on today, what issues would be important to her today. And so are we able to play the video? Okay, wonderful. So if we could just direct our attention to the screen as we play the video.
Obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And I'd like to just have a round of applause for our winner, Brenda Gonzalez, class of 2024, who unfortunately is not with us. So we'll have to- Place winners are a group of students who reflected upon their identities and backgrounds and examined how Kate Stoneman's trailblazing advocacy has allowed so many of us to follow in her footsteps, to shatter glass ceilings, and to ensure a brighter future for all. Their poster is a beautiful representation of and testament to Kate's legacy and the diversity and the larger diversity of our community. So this is the. And so their submission time for various students. And so again, please go up and read them. They're just awesomely inspiring. So I'd like to have a round of applause for Tara Halterman. If you could all please stand. So hard. It's an awesome poster. Okay. And finally, I'd like to present our first prize now. Our first prize is a remarkable and unique submission. It embodies not just what would Cateman do, but actually proposes a way we could actually do something that Kate would do, right? Our award winner submitted a full proposal for the first pilot program for, a women's prison law school pipeline program, with an inspiration to a woman-centered response to remedy some of the country's mass incarceration problems. As the prize winner said in the submission, if Kate were alive today, she would recognize this opportunity and advocate for women's access to legal education inside, recognizing its value to community safety, the legal profession, and addressing the needs of vulnerable populations with whom many legal actors cannot relate. The submission creates a full plan for a new degree, including a first-year seminar proposal. And the proposal is a new way for women to obtain degrees from Albany Law School while serving time, ultimately helping to create safer communities, creating a more diverse legal community, a reduction in recidivism, consistent post-employment release initiatives, and the ability to meet caretaking needs post-release. And finally, eliminating more broadly barriers to legal education for justice-impacted women, and so much more. Well, it's just such a thoughtful and thorough submission. And if our winner could please join me on stage down here at the podium, I'd be most grateful. Please help me welcome and honor our first place honoree, Nujet Mina, class of 2020. So with that, so a final, a round of applause if we could for all of our. Vice President. Oh, just let's go get food, right? That's it's standing between you and that. So let me just wrap it right up. And so again, let's have a round of applause for our honorees, all of them. Lynch, and look at the student submissions on the way out the door for all of the work that went in today's event.